Hello students, New English High School and Junior College, managed by our esteemed CEO Mr. Prakash Gurnani sir and our principal Mrs. Jyoti Gurnani madam, have taken this initiative of providing online lectures for English subject 12th, Science, Commerce and Arts. As we are going through this ongoing pandemic, we hope we will be benefited by this.
Myself, Mrs. Subarna Basu from Department of English.
Today in our language study, we will be taking up grammar lecture, and this is the first lecture of grammar. We will be taking up the topic the verb, its kinds, and mostly transitive, intransitive, auxiliary and modals we will be dealing with. We are starting our today's lecture with parts of speech. When we speak or write any sentence, we generally use words, and these words are divided into different kinds. They are called parts of speech according to their use in the sentence. So basically, a full sentence is a group of several words and each word has different function in it. The various parts of speech we use are noun, pronoun, adjective, verb, adverb, preposition, conjunction, interjection, article and determiners. Gradually we will know one by one. For your convenience, I have taken here an example. You can see this colorful sentence before you. It's a long sentence. The old man was sitting under a tree and patiently waiting for his son to arrive. In this sentence, all the differently colored words are actually the different parts of speech with the same color you are seeing here. For example, the. You can see that the is an article and number 9 article and the is in same color. So the is an article. Old man. Man is a noun. And when we describe a noun with a word, it is called an adjective. So here how is the man? Old man. So old is an adjective. Man is a noun. Was sitting. Both of these words are verb. Sitting is the main verb. Was is the auxiliary verb, helping verb. Under a tree. This says that where is the old man sitting, position of the old man, and where is the position, preposition. So under, the word under is the preposition. You can see preposition and under colored in same color. A tree, a is again a article. Tree, tree is a noun, any common noun. You can see name, place or anything is called a common noun. And is a word which joins two sentences or two things, and such things are called conjunction. At number 7 you can see the parts of speech conjunction. Patiently waiting, patiently, how he is waiting, patiently, and this word patiently is adverb. Waiting, waiting is again a verb, doing some work. For his son, for is preposition, his is pronoun, son is again a noun, to again we can see it is a preposition and arrive is a verb. So there is a complete sentence with almost all the parts of speech are used here. Remaining one or two. Otherwise all are used. So I think you will be benefited by this. In our parts of speech, our first topic today is verb. Verb is a word or a phrase that describes an action that is physically done or mentally done, or a condition or an experience. Means any type of action done. If you are thinking, that is also an action. Apart from this, running, singing, these are all verbs. So today we will deal with verbs. Verb is the main part of the sentence. that tells us what is taking place. For example, Maria sings. Sings is the verb in this sentence. However, sometimes verbs are not action words because not all verbs are considered as actions. Some are also considered as state of being or emotion or opinion. State of being means how we are existing, happy, sad, how we are existing now, how is your state. Emotion, feel, love, these are also words which come in verb, but these are non-action verbs. Opinion, giving your opinion, considering something, it is also a verb. For example, we are happy. How are we? We are happy. So it says the first one that I have written here, state of being. Our state, what is our state? We are happy. So our word is a verb here. Jack thought about it. Thought. Thought, thinking something is where your mind is involved. But your mind is doing some work. So it is also a sort of work. So thought is also a verb here. We will consider the matter, considering, again thinking about something. Again, this word consider is also a verb here. So we have seen now these are non-action verbs that describe an emotion, thinking, opinion, etc. Other non-action verbs may include love, agree, feel, have. Now, I will tell you how we will recognize a verb, how we will identify a verb in a sentence. As I told you already, a verb is an action word. For example, we have seen in the previous sentences, a verb can be recognized by its location. Location is, it should be always placed after the doer of the action. Means who is doing the action, that is known as the subject, and a verb is placed next to that. You can see here in the examples, they planned for a picnic. Here they is the subject who are planning for the picnic, and planning is the verb which comes after the subject. See, some more sentences are given. Mark eats his dinner quickly, which is the subject here, Mark. Mark is eating, so Mark is the subject. Eats is the verb. We went to the market, which is the verb went. So which is the subject? Just before the verb, that is the subject, that is we. You write neatly in the notebook. So write is the verb and you is the subject. They decided about the prices. Here deciding is a verb. So decided word is the verb and they is the subject here. Next, our slide is see types of verb. How many types of verb today we will be dealing with? Main types are action verbs, auxiliary verbs and linking verbs. Among that, for you, most important is action verb and auxiliary verbs, which are also called helping verbs. Action verbs can be further classified into transitive and intransitive depending upon the use of the verb. Auxiliary verbs are the helping verbs that we will discuss later on, and then there are linking verbs. So starting with first type of verb, that is action verbs. Action verbs express specific actions and are used anytime when you want to show any action, physical or mental. Physical actions involve your running, doing, dancing, sliding, jumping, going, cutting, and mental verbs are think, smile, listen. These are all mental verbs. Suppose we have seen that these words are given here and we will see their use in the sentences. I run faster than Kunal. Run is physical verb, action verb. He does it well. Does is also a verb word. She thinks about poetry. Starting with transitive and intransitive verbs, which is one of the main type of verbs, and both have a specific difference. So first, let's start with transitive verbs. Transitive verbs are action verbs that express activities which affect someone. That is, transitive verb needs to transfer its action to something or someone. That means there should be an object. Whenever there is doing any work, an object should be affected by it. Usually in transitive verb, we get the answers of questions like what or whom. So when an action is done, if someone is affected by the action, it is called transitive verb. You will be more clear when you see these examples that are coming up. You can see here we have written they sold, she gave, Alex sent. When I say they sold, does it make any sense? No. We have to complete the sentence, then only it will make complete sense. So now you can see that they sold the ticket to Ramesh. Now it becomes a complete sentence. They sold the ticket and it went to Ramesh. So their selling of the ticket is transferring, the verb is transferred to Ramesh. So somebody is affected. So that type of verb, when somebody is affected of any action, is called the transitive verb. Next, she gave the chocolate to her friend. Again, she is giving something, and when she is giving something, that thing is transferred to her friend. That means her verb, her doing action is affecting her friend. So you can see in the transitive verb, whenever an action is done by the subject, she is the subject here, she is giving, the verb is going transferring to another object and a friend is being affected by that. Alex sent a letter to his brother. When Alex sent a letter, it goes to his brother. So the action is transferred to the brother. So whenever there is an object where your verb is transferred and it got affected is called a transitive verb. My mother gave me this watch on my birthday. My mother gave me something. What did she give? She gave a watch. And when did she, whom did she give? She gave to me. That means you can see in all this, they sold the tickets or she gave the chocolates. What did she give? Alex sent a letter. What did he send? My mother gave me this watch. What the answer of what you will get in these sentences? And the action is being transferred to another person. My mother gave me this watch. So the giving, the verb is transferred to me. So both the things are solved. What question as well as the action is transferred. And to whom? They sold the tickets. To whom? To Ramesh. She gave the chocolates. To whom? To her friend. Even the answer of whom also you are getting here. The director discussed the strategy to his employees. The director discussed. Discussed is a verb, doing any work, discussing the strategy, and the discussion goes on and it is transferred to his employees. What is the director doing? Discussing. Again, you can see, as I told you, the answer of what is answered here. With whom did he discuss? With his employees. So again, both the questions we are getting answered in this sentence. He washed his hands. A small but small sentence. He washed. What did he wash? His hands. So again, the verb wash is transferring to his hands. The driver stopped the train. The driver, what did he stop? You are getting the answer of what? Remember, he stopped the train, and his action of stopping the train is an action which is passing on to the train. So, I hope it is clear that in a transitive verb, when we are doing any action, when the subject is doing any action, the action is being passed on to some subject. So in all the above sentences, we can see action is affecting someone or something, and when this happens, it is called a transitive verb. So intransitive verb. Next is intransitive verb. This verb denotes an action. It is just opposite to the transitive verb. It does not pass over to an object, or it does not affect any object when an action is done, but it expresses a state of being. It expresses which state you are, what are you doing at that time, only that much. Whether it is affecting somebody or nobody, it is not there. And it usually answers when and how in some or other sentences. When the action happened or how did it take place. But the answer of what you will not get here, that you will get in transitive sentence. That is the difference of transitive and intransitive. For example, he ran a long distance. With examples only it will be clear to you. He ran a long distance. Ran is a verb here. But his running is not affecting anybody. Simply what is he doing? He is running. Intransitive verbs express what you are in action, what action you are doing, in what state you are, and his state is now he is running. What is the next sentence? They laughed loudly. In what state they are? They are happy, they are laughing loudly. So you can see the first line, it expresses a state of being. It is expressing in which state they are. She runs very fast, telling about her that she runs very fast, but her running is not affecting anybody. No, there is no object present in intransitive verbs. The horse never kicks. That is the state of being of the horse. It is in that state only always. It never kicks anyone. The stars shine at night. Universal truth, it always shines at night, but it does not affect anyone. It is not going and hitting somebody or affecting anyone. No object is affected. So that is an intransitive verb. The train stopped suddenly. It is not mentioned the train stopped suddenly, it hit something or something is affected. No. So this is type of intransitive verb. It tells the state in which state the verb is. The verb is in stopping condition. The train is in stopped condition. Simple. The baby sleeps. Next we will deal with auxiliary and modal verbs. Auxiliary verbs are also known as helping verbs and used together with the main verb to show the tense of the verb or to form a question or negative. For example, you see here, if we write people must or Megha is or we are. Why we are writing this? Because must, is, are, these words are auxiliary verbs. But when we write it with the subject, only these two words is not giving any meaning unless until we complete the sentence with a main verb. Suppose now we will write people must obey the law, then only it will make a complete sense. Megha is writing. Yes, now the sentence is complete. We are playing. So you have seen that only these auxiliary verbs or the helping verbs does not make any sense. It becomes complete when it is associated with a main verb. As we have seen here, we will go ahead with some of the important auxiliary verbs that we daily deal with. I hope you have understand that auxiliary is the main helping verbs and they are useful only when we are using them with the main verbs. Some auxiliary verbs are, first one is be. Now not only the word be we use in various forms in our sentences. Some of the forms of be are is, was, are, were. These are the forms of be. Remember, these words are the forms of be. She is a good girl. So here is the verb in this sentence. This type of sentences where no action is happening, there are also verbs present. A sentence can never be complete without a verb, whether any action, physical action is taking place or not taking place. When no physical action is taking place, these are called state of being verbs. Be is called state of being verb. How she is a good girl. What he is doing, he was working. So these are the, in what state he was working. So here you can see the auxiliary verbs present. The gate was open. I am going to see him tomorrow. So am also is an auxiliary verb here. We are working on the project. So is, was, am, are, all these words are helping verbs in a sentence, and they complete the meaning only when they are used with the main verbs to complete the meaning. What are the other auxiliary verbs we deal with? Next is have. Have is also a word which is used as a helping verb. And it is mostly used in the formation of perfect tenses, perfect, present perfect, past perfect. Or in all these words, have is used. In present perfect, have and has is used. In past perfect, had is used. And have, has, all the forms of have only. For example, he has worked. He has been working. He has worked is a past present perfect. He has been working is a present perfect continuous. So you see, with the perfect tenses we use the have form. I have to be there by 5 o'clock. So these are the uses of have. He has to move the furniture himself. When we use he or she, we use has. When we use I or we use have. Suppose we write I have to be there by 4 o'clock. In place of I, if we write we, again for that also we'll write we have to be there by 4 o'clock. But in place of we, if I write she, then it will be she has to be there by 4 o'clock. So what it comes? He or she, we use as, has, and I, we, and they, we use have. In negative and questions, have to and had to are used with do, does, and did in negative and while making questions. Negative sentence, for example, they don't have to go. Do, don't. Don't is a form of do. Do they have to go? In a question form. He didn't have to go. Again, it's a statement. Did he have to go? Again, a question form. So this do, don't, didn't, did, all are forms of do only. Our next auxiliary is do. The auxiliary do is used to form negative of simple present and simple past tenses. For example, he doesn't work. See, this do is used in various ways. Do, did, does, doesn't, didn't, don't, all are forms of do only. He didn't work, or like a question, does he work? And how is do is used in question tag? For example, you met him, didn't you? Again, for a question tag, we are using the form of do. You eat fish, don't you? Now, apart from this, we also use do in imperative sentences. And what are imperative sentences? Imperative sentences are types of sentences when we make order, command, request, wish. Those all sentences come in imperative sentences. So here in the imperative sentences, mostly do comes. Do be quiet. It's an order. Oh, do come. It's an invitation. After auxiliary verbs, we will be dealing with the modal verbs, or you can also call them modal auxiliaries. And which are these words? These words you are very well used to. Almost daily we can use this. We use this can, could, may, might, will, would, must. These are the words which are called auxiliaries and we use in various sentences. First, can. Can usually expresses an ability or a capacity to do something. For example, I can swim across the river. He can solve this problem. You can see these are things that you can do. You can say with can. Can you lift this box? All these three sentences say that the person is having the capacity to do the work. Next, can and may are used to seek permission. You usually say when you come in, you ask the teacher, may I come in? When you want to sit somewhere when others are seated, you will ask them, can I sit here? These are used, may and can are also used to take permission. Can I borrow your umbrella? Or may I borrow your umbrella? Both are correct. Sometimes may is also used to express a wish, a desire. May you live long, may you be blessed. These are the things where may is also used. May and might is used to express possibility in affirmative sentences. Possibility is if something is possible. It may rain tomorrow means there is a possibility of rains tomorrow. He may be at home means there is a possibility of his being at home. So whenever there is a possibility, we can use may or might. Tomorrow, he might call a meeting. So I thought she might be at home now. You can see here may and might are used where there is a possibility in the sentences. Could is used as the past of can, past equivalent of can. I can swim across the river. The past will be I could swim across the river. That means I have done it. She could finish her work on time. Means she has finished the work on time. To show the possibility in past, in place of can, could is used. I could not solve this puzzle. In negative also could is used. I could attend the party. So you can see here could is used as the past word for can. Our next modal auxiliaries words are shall, should, will, would, which usually comes in future tenses. Shall and will are used for future tenses. I will be 25 this birthday means 25 years. I will be of 25 years. We will need the money for the function. Here you can see everything is going. The statements are future statements. When shall we see you again? Shall sometimes is used when there is a probability. Means it might happen or may not happen. So here it is used in shall. Shall is sometimes also used in second and third person to express a command, a promise or a threat. For example, he shall not enter my house again. It is a command. You shall have a holiday tomorrow. You can see it is a promise. You shall be punished for this. This is a threat. Next, we can use will as an invitation. For example, will you have tea or coffee? Will you lend me your scooter? It is like a request. Will you come to my home tomorrow? Is like an invitation. So you are seeing the various places where will and shall can be used as modal auxiliaries. Our next words will be should. And should is expressed to show your duty. We should obey the laws. You should keep your promise. Children should obey their parents. With the sentences, you can easily understand that when you are supposed to do anything, then the word should is used. So should shows your duty of doing something. Our next modal auxiliaries are must and ought to. Must is used to express necessity or compulsion, or another word for it is obligation. Obligation or compulsion means you have to do that work somehow by hook or crook. You must improve your spellings. You can see there is a stress on the word must. Must is stressed that you have to do the work. We must get up early. She must meet you tomorrow. She must have left already. So the words must show that it is a necessity or a compulsion or an obligation. Must and ought to has a slight difference, but in both the cases we can use one place, we can use the other also. We ought to love our neighbors. Ought to and must can be replaced by each other. We ought to love our neighbors. We ought to help people in need. You ought to know better. Prices ought to come down soon. These all ought to, you can understand it means must only, but ought to is used in certain sentences to show the beauty of the sentence. The book ought to be very useful. So you are saying it is called moral obligation. When ought to is used, if you are told that use a modal auxiliary which shows moral obligation or desirability, you can use the word ought. So you have seen, children, we have dealt with the whole of verbs, almost verbs, transitive, intransitive, and the modal auxiliaries, which will be of very helpful to you, I think. Hope you study this and understand this better. So here we end our grammar lecture today on verbs. Hope it will be beneficial to you and you will understand it. Thank you, children.